Добро пожаловать в Узбекистан, страну, где древние традиции живут и процветают. Одним из самых ценных богатств этой земли является шелк. Сегодня мы отправимся в удивительное путешествие. Узнаем историю возникновения шелка, заглянем в одну из ремесленных мастерских Узбекистана, чтобы узнать, как создают этот драгоценный материал, покоряющий мир своей красотой и изяществом в настоящее время. This material's historical history was fascinating in addition to its remarkable beauty. Sericulture is thought to have started around 5,000 years ago in China. According to legend, this method was unintentionally discovered by the Chinese Empress Silent Shi when a silkworm cocoon fell into her tea. A long, thin thread started to stretch in front of her eyes as the drink's heat loosened the cocoon. Ever then, silk weaving has grown to be a significant aspect of Eastern culture. Silk production was tightly regulated in China for a long time. It was regarded as a national secret, and anyone found in violation of the prohibition on sharing this information faced the death penalty. Nevertheless, in the 7th century CE, a monk named Gaumata helped the skill of silk production covertly expand to other regions of Asia and the Middle East through travelers. Silk became one of the primary commodities moved across continents with the growth of the Silk Road, a network of trade routes linking the East and West. This valuable commodity was sought after by traders from all across the world. Silk was even utilized by the Chinese Han Dynasty as a diplomatic gift to preserve ties with other countries. Up to the reign of Alexander the Great and the Roman Empire, silk was becoming more and more popular in Europe. But because the Silk Road's silk commerce was costly and time-consuming, Europe wanted to establish its own silk industry. Two monks stole silkworms and silk seeds during their journey from Byzantium to China in the 9th century AD, and they were smuggled into Constantinople. This served as the foundation for the development of Byzantium's own silk sector. The 19th century saw the rise of the Industrial Revolution, which made silk production more economical and mechanized. Natural silk started to face competition from synthetic materials like polyester and nylon. Nonetheless, natural silk is still a popular option for fashion collections and special occasions since it maintains its richness and distinctive qualities like sheen and softness. Today, there are many different types of silk produced. Silk continues to be a symbol of sophistication and beauty, whether it is produced traditionally in China or with contemporary technologies in other nations. It is one of the most valuable materials in the fashion and textile industries because of its distinctive heritage and priceless qualities. Let's now examine Uzbekistan's silk production situation in more detail. What traditions are upheld, what technology are employed, and what role does this industry play in the national economy? Let's explore this fascinating field of sericulture and discover more about how opulent Uzbek silk garments are made. One of the major crossing points of the Great Silk Road is Uzbekistan. Caravans carrying jewelry, silk, and spices traveled through these regions thousands of years ago, connecting the East with the West. Here, weaving and the manufacture of silk evolved into a genuine art form that was handed down through the generations. One of the major crossing points of the Great Silk Road is Uzbekistan. Caravans carrying jewelry, silk, and spices traveled through these regions thousands of years ago, connecting the East with the West. Here, weaving and the manufacture of silk evolved into a genuine art form that was handed down through the generations. Today, Uzbekistan ranks third in silk production in the world, after China and India. Together with the DOCA tourist team, we went to one of the Samarkand places where silk production has been carried out using traditional technologies since ancient times. Greetings from the wonderful world of Samarkand silk. Ancient customs and workmanship are being handed down from one generation to the next here at the fabled Silk Factory. We will reveal to you today how this enchanted procedure creates a spectacular cloth from a little cocoon. You will witness the complete process of producing a genuine work of art. From the meticulous rearing of silkworms to the conversion of the finest threads into opulent designs. Let's get started if you're prepared to explore the realm of silk magic. Men perform the most physically demanding tasks at this facility, where labor-intensive manual labor is mixed with centuries-old customs. They tend to the silk trees, keeping a close eye on their development to ensure that the leaves are luscious and nourishing. The mature branches are cut when the time is right and given to the tender hands of ladies. The women provide the silkworms fresh nourishment by carefully separating the leaves from the branches, much like the guardians of future silk. Their work is equally crucial because the quality of these leaves determines the health of the caterpillars and, consequently, the quality of the silk produced in the future. Every stage in this process is a component of a great piece of art, where man and nature collaborate to produce an opulent fabric. Every action in this place is a component of a great work of art, where man and nature collaborate to produce an opulent fabric that is well known worldwide. Silkworms are grown in Uzbekistan on particular mulberry tree species, the most valuable of which is the white mulberry, Morus alba. Because silkworms love the soft, juicy, and nutrient-dense leaves of this plant, it is perfect for sericulture. This type guarantees the caterpillar's quick development and gives you cocoons with long, robust, and glossy threads. Because of its exceptional resistance to heat and drought, white mulberry is essential in Uzbekistan. The tree develops swiftly, and silkworms benefit from the abundance of proteins and microelements in its leaves. Furthermore, Uzbek silk, which is prized globally for its durability and softness, can be produced using very high-quality raw materials according to ancient cultivation techniques. Although there are other mulberry varieties in Uzbekistan besides Morus alba, it was this particular kind that served as the foundation for the emergence of traditional sericulture, whose customs are still practiced today. The silkworm, a tiny but crucial insect, is where it all begins. For thousands of years, these little insects have been essential helpers in the manufacturing of silk. The silkworm's life cycle is remarkable in its uniqueness. It begins as a tiny caterpillar and grows through multiple stages while only consuming mulberry leaves. The caterpillar starts producing the finest thread, which can be several hundred meters long when it is time to pupate. It produces a special, natural fiber by encasing itself in a cocoon, which serves as the foundation for the creation of opulent Uzbek textiles. Breeding silkworms in Uzbekistan is a complex science and art that calls for meticulous attention, a healthy diet, and ideal weather. These elements contribute to the strength, suppleness, and distinctive natural sheen of local silk. Together, let's see how silkworms develop and grow in specially designed environments. The ideal environment for silkworm caterpillars is produced by placing them in specialized wooden or cardboard enclosures. Fresh mulberry leaves, which are frequently refreshed, are their primary food source. The caterpillars actively feed for a few weeks, grow rapidly, and undergo multiple molts to gain size. This stage is crucial since the quality of the nourishment determines the future silk's strength and sheen. The caterpillars wrap themselves in the strongest but finest silk strands to spin their cocoons once they have reached the appropriate developmental stage. Once the silkworm caterpillars have completed the weaving process, They are safely hidden inside a dense cocoon, consisting of one long silk thread that can be up to 1,000 or 1,500 meters long. Inside the cocoon, a new stage of development begins. The caterpillar turns into a pupa. The pupa undergoes complex biological changes. Its body is rebuilt, and within a few days it is transformed into an adult butterfly. However, in industrial sericulture, this process is usually not completed. If the butterfly emerges from the cocoon naturally, it will break the silk thread, which will significantly reduce the value of the raw material. If the pupa's natural growth is not halted, it spends roughly 10 to 14 days in the cocoon. Complex transformations take place inside the cocoon during this time, transforming the pupa into an adult butterfly. Women in the hand silk factory manually cut open the cocoon once it is fully formed in order to remove the pupa. Because it's crucial to avoid damaging the silk thread, this procedure calls for extra caution and expertise. If the pupa's natural growth is not halted, it spends roughly 10 to 14 days in the cocoon. Complex transformations take place inside the cocoon during this time, transforming the pupa into an adult butterfly. Women in the hand silk factory manually cut open the cocoon once it is fully formed in order to remove the pupa. Because it's crucial to avoid damaging the silk thread, this procedure calls for extra caution and expertise. In the technique of producing silk by hand, every error could result in the loss of priceless materials. Because women's skills will determine the quality of the final fabric, dealing with cocoons demands a specific level of responsibility and respect for the process. One of the most challenging steps in the manufacture of silk is this time-consuming procedure. This stage is still carried out by hand in many parts of Uzbekistan, maintaining the handicraft traditions despite contemporary technologies. The butterflies are hand-picked by sterile women who adhere to stringent hygienic guidelines. Since the goal of butterfly selection is to conserve the best individuals for future reproduction or scientific study, this procedure demands the highest level of care and attention. Only the strongest and healthiest butterflies are retained to perpetuate the species after each one is inspected. Silkworms live only 5 to 10 days after hatching from their cocoons and do not feed. Mating, which can last up to 24 hours, starts shortly after emergence. Following mating, the female produces 300–500 eggs, while others are dried or frozen for long-term storage. Some laboratories also use silkworm eggs for genetics and biotechnology research, from which new caterpillars eventually emerge. Some of the eggs are used in the next mating cycle or sold, both males and females. After fulfilling their natural purpose, a portion of the eggs are either used for a fresh breeding cycle or shipped for sale. For longer storage, some eggs are dried or frozen. They are employed in certain labs for genetics and biotechnology research. You might wonder what they do with the deceased pupae. Dried pupae, which are utilized in a variety of fields, are left over after the cocoon thread is separated. Animal feed is particularly common in poultry farming and fishing. Food item. Fried silkworm pupae are regarded as a delicacy in Asian nations including China, Korea, and Thailand. Pupae are used to make face masks and creams because they are high in proteins and amino acids, which are used in cosmetics and medicine. In agriculture, ground pupae are utilized as organic fertilizer. На старинных деревянных станках, передаваемых из поколения в поколение, женщины вручную вплетают узоры, следуя вековым технологиям. Каждый узор несет в себе символику и отражает культурное наследие региона. Особенной популярностью пользуются ткани атлас и адрос, отличающиеся яркими цветами и сложными геометрическими орнаментами. Процесс создания одной ткани может занимать недели, а иногда и месяцы. Тончайшие шелковые нити переплетаются с хлопковыми основами, создавая прочные и легкие полотна, из которых шьют традиционные халаты, платки и наряды. On antique wooden looms, passed down from generation to generation, women manually weave patterns using age-old techniques. Each pattern carries symbolism and reflects the cultural heritage of the region. Satin and Adras fabrics are especially popular, distinguished by their bright colors and complex geometric patterns. The process of creating one fabric can take weeks and sometimes months. The finest silk threads are intertwined with cotton bases, creating durable and lightweight fabrics from which traditional robes, scarves, and outfits are sewn. Well, that's the end of our fascinating overview video about the silk factory.
Yeah.
We plunged into the amazing world of ancient traditions, saw how one of the most valuable and noble materials in the world is born from a tiny caterpillar, and watched the painstaking handiwork of the masters who preserve and pass on this art from generation to generation. Thank you for going on this journey with us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new interesting videos. See you soon.